Good morning and welcome to Art Masterpiece. So today I want to start off talking about dreams. Okay, so I want you to think back to the last dream you had. What was it like? Was it scary? Was it a good dream? Did it wake you up? Did it leave you going, gosh, that was weird? Because so often our dreams combine what's real with fantasy, right? Like maybe there's things in there that feel familiar, like our dog is in it, but our dog has wings. Or our mom is in it, but she's like 10 feet tall and a giant. Like it's just combining things we know with things that are maybe a little bit more fantasy, not real. And there was a man who lived probably 100 or so years ago, and his name was Sigmund Freud. And he believed that the unconscious mind, so the dreaming mind, was a wellspring of imagination, that there was so much in there that we could use. So there were some artists in the 1900s who loved to think how that thought of the wellspring of imagination, how that could apply to art. And what if art were to take that dreamlike quality and combine the real with the fantasy, kind of like a dream? And so they called this type of art surrealism. And they wanted to push back against all of the realism that was happening in the world at the time with the world wars, and everybody was, hating people and things were not great. And so they felt like if they could harness this surrealism, that it would just be a great way to approach their art. And so their art created a type of dream world where they would take real and very familiar objects and paint them in an unfamiliar way. So it made it feel like you were looking at this painting and it kind of felt like one of those dreams you might have had. So one of the most famous artists of surrealism is the artist we were learning about today, a man named Salvador Dali. Okay, he was born in Italy in 1904. Well, Dali was kind of a quirky man, which is really fun. For him, you can see that crazy mustache he had, and he took lots of pictures with the mustache doing some crazy things, and he was really famous because of that mustache. People would just recognize him wherever he went because of that crazy mustache that he had. He was actually even seen walking around Paris, France, with an anteater on a leash. Like, how weird is that? And he showed up to an art museum in a full underwater deep sea diving suit, which back in the 1900s was kind of crazy looking. And he actually almost suffocated in it. And so, but he did it. Like, he loved to do these weird, quirky things that people just really enjoyed because it was just different. Like, he loved to be different. And so because he was a little bit weird and different, he was immediately drawn to the surrealism art movement. He loved the idea of this blend of real and fantasy in almost like a dream world. And so he was actually so insistent on obtaining this dreamlike state in order to create his art that he would intentionally put himself into hallucinatory states, meaning like kind of dreaming. And he referred to his surrealism art as hand-painted dream photographs. And they had detail in them, just as if you were painting a photograph. So during his lifetime, Dali sold over 1,500 paintings. That's a lot for an artist. As an artist, he was actually really liked and popular, but his most famous painting is the one we're talking about today. And it's actually one of the most recognizable surrealist paintings in the world. Everybody has usually seen it in some kind of capacity. Sometimes they'll show it in a cartoon, or you'll see it on a TV show. But it is called The Persistence of Memory. Okay, Dali said that this painting came to him in a dream. Surprise. And the idea of melting clocks came from watching some cheese melt. But look at the details in this painting. Everything looks so detailed, like a photograph. You see the beautiful mountains in the back that are actually from the town that he grew up in. You see the bare branches on the tree, just painted with so much detail. And you even see a bunch of ants on that red clock. Do you see them? And that little fly sitting on the gold clock, painted in excruciating detail. Some people think of this painting as the clock painting. But why do you think he painted all these clocks? What do you think he was trying to say? Well, did you know that Surrealist art was also known for using jokes and sarcasm or humor? And so Dali used sarcasm in naming this painting. The name, The Persistence of Memory. He is making fun of our obsession with time. Like, we're always so worried about what time it is. Are we gonna be late for school? What time do we have to be to this? We're always so rushed and so busy checking our watches constantly. And in his time, they had pocket watches, which you see in this photograph. Like he knows, he looks around and everyone's constantly pulling out and checking their pocket watches. Well, these melting clocks for him, as he painted, they display just how unreliable and non-persistent time really is. That the more that we try to control time, the more it decays and melts away, including our memories, right? Have you ever tried to tell a story only to find out that maybe your mom tells it differently, or your brother or your sister? As memory fades, it often kind of distorts or changes. We start to remember things differently. Sometimes maybe we make up details or think something happened that didn't happen. Has that ever happened to you? That is sometimes the inconsistency of memory, especially over time. And this is why memory is far from reliable or persistent. So when he named the painting, The Persistence of Memory, he was being sarcastic, because in the painting, he shows that he really doesn't think memory is persistent at all. Now I want you to look in the middle of the painting. Do you see that white figure? Now, when I first saw this painting, I actually thought that was a horse. I don't think it's a horse anymore. So what do you think it is? Kind of look close. What do you see happening there? So with time, if you look and maybe turn your head just a little bit, you'll start to see a skull reveal itself with very human characteristics. You'll see long eyelashes, a nose, and even a little wisp of a curled mustache, kind of like Dali's. So what do you think he's trying to say by painting the skull into the portrait? You know, many people have guessed, because no one really knows. Dali never said what he was meaning by painting this. It was something in a dream. And so that's what's so fun about this kind of art, about surrealism, about abstract art, is you get to look at it and you get to decide what you think all these pieces mean. You get to look at it and you get to decide what it means to you. You maybe don't know what it means to the artist, but you get to put your own meaning into it. And that makes it like pretty fun and pretty special. And that's why a lot of people are so connected, because it reminds them of something. They're drawn to it for some reason, and they love Salvador Dali's art. So if you ever want to see this painting for yourself, it is now hanging in the Museum of Modern Art in New York. It's not super huge. It's like the size of a sheet of paper, just a little bit bigger, but it is amazing to see. So if you are ever in New York, make the trip to the Museum of Modern Art and see this painting for yourself. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.